If you've been following these videos, you know I often refer to something called twice 11 or twice 11 brethren. Here I'm going to explain what I believe it means and point out indications of it and Edward de Vere in the Shakespeare play Hamlet. I first saw the words twice 11 brethren as an acrostic in the King James Bible, Book of Job, chapter 42. Watching Alexander Wa's videos, I learned that de Vere may have been part of a Freemasonic organization and thought maybe twice 11 brethren was a moniker for this secret society. I put what I found in a video, and Sean O'Donovan discovered that brethren is printed in the first folio 22 times. I knew then there was something to this, and ever since, twice 11 has been the other key, in addition to 1740, Oxford's Earl and code number, that's unlocked many of the de Vere Shakespeare codes. So what is twice 11? Well, I've already mentioned what I thought it was in previous videos, so it won't be a surprise to anyone who's been following them. But here I want to confirm it. In Hebrew, the 22nd letter is tav, or tau, which translates to the letter T. In Greek, the 22nd letter is chi, or chi, written like a letter X. And in Latin, the 22nd letter is Y. In Monas Hieroglyphica, John Dee refers to the primary alphabets of the three languages, which are Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. In each of these languages, 22, or twice 11, is equivalent to a letter that represents a cross, or a crucifix, the symbol that's most identified with Jesus. In crucifixion imagery, the most common cross we see is the tau, or T-shaped cross. But there's also St. Andrew's cross in the shape of an X and the Ypsilon or Upsilon forked cross with the arms bent in the shape of a Y. I think there's a clue from which we can infer that these are the three types of crosses. A while back, Wa suggested I look at the dots or points on the Sonnet's dedication page. This is how they appear when the words are removed. In one of his videos, Wa rotates the page, draws a line around the text, and reveals de Vere's funerary urn. I did something similar here. I rotated the page and aligned the dots, same dots per line, just made them more centralized, and was able to draw three types of crucifixes: an Ypsilon forked cross, a chi or X cross, and a T-shaped cross with a vertical and horizontal line. The last set of dots is an iota eta Christogram with the base representing Golgotha and three crosses, symbolizing the place where Jesus was crucified between two thieves. So twice 11 represents crucifixion crosses, the 22nd letter in each of the three languages mentioned by Dee in Monas Hieroglyphica, Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Twice 11 is equal to 22, but it can also be indicated by a couple other numbers. One is 121, which is 11 times 11. I made a video on Sonnet 121 showing how they incorporated twice 11 into it. The sonnet also has the words, I am that I am, God's name, which was verboten to refer to oneself as during those days. As far as I know, only two people did that and got away with it: Edward de Vere and Shakespeare. Another number is found using 23-letter Latin gematria and its repeated count. Pretty much everything I've found in the Sonnet's First Folio and King James Bible uses this method of numbers and letters being equivalent, the same way they do in Greek and Hebrew. Here we can see L is equal to 11. Two L's are 11 and 11. Looking at the repeated count, 2 L's are equal to 34. With gematria, 2 L's are equal to 211, so 34 and double L can be code for twice 11. In Hebrew, El means God, and in Monas, Dee explains how two-letter L's form a cross, which I think is another example of the relationship between twice 11 and this symbol. As a side note, 34 is twice 17, de Vere's Earl number doubled. Although there may be an additional meaning, my conclusion is that twice 11 is referring to a crucifix or cross in the three primary languages. Alright, so the full phrase in Job 42 is twice 11 brethren, which means brethren of the cross. So is this the same as the Fraternity of the Rosy Cross, who became known to the public in 1614? Maybe some people knew of them earlier, but it was in that year they released their first publication. Looking back a few decades before, according to researcher Peter Dawkins, Michael Meyer wrote that in 1570, following the excommunication of Queen Elizabeth by the Pope, a gathering of ancient societies took place under the name the Golden and Rosy Cross. I've shown in previous videos that one of the codes hidden within the Sonnet's byline are the words Gold Cross, Rosy Cross, and the pronunciation of Vere's name. From this, I think we can surmise that Oxford was involved with this organization. Here's the thing, the sonnets were published in 1609, and there's not only Gold and Rosy Cross on the cover, but references to Twice 11 and Sonnets 22, 121, and elsewhere throughout the text. The King James Bible came out a couple years later with all its Twice 11 codes. I hate calling them codes because it makes it sound like the Bible code, which this is not. Then in 1614, the Rosicrucians published Fama Fraternitatis, so we know they're definitely on the scene by that time. But then in 1623, when the first folio is released, we get more references to Twice 11 Brethren. So the name was still being used, even though Oxford had been dead for some time. The fact that the sonnets have references to both the Gold and Rosy Cross and Twice 11 makes me think it's really all part of the same organization. With Twice 11 Brethren applying to the works written by Shakespeare, who was Edward de Vere, and to a very important degree Francis Bacon. Oxford was the leader, and after he died, Bacon likely inherited the role. Possibly with the help of other writers, he completed the work on the King James Bible that de Vere had begun and published the first folio. To my knowledge, references to Twice 11 appear only in these three texts, which leads me to believe they're the work of the same person, Edward de Vere. And God only knows the role John Dee played in all this. Now I want to show you what I found in Hamlet. People who believe Edward de Vere was Shakespeare feel this is the most autobiographical of his plays. It begins with an obvious double V character. Looking beneath it are the abbreviated words bar and hay. Bar is Aramaic for son, S-O-N. Hay can mean a couple things. In Hebrew, hay is the fifth letter, but the word hay means behold. With the double V above it, this could be saying, de Vere, behold the sun. I have another translation, but I'm not exactly sure when this was put into practice. Hay is sometimes used to represent the name of God as an abbreviation for Hashem, which means the name. It's a way of saying God without actually saying the name. So it could be double V, Son of God. I just don't know if that abbreviation for Hashem was used during this time. By way of coincidence, I guess, with gematria, the letters for Hamlet add up to 56, as do the letters for de Vere. And the title line, Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, is comprised of 24 characters, and there are 24 letters in the name Edward de Vere, Earl of Oxford. On the next page, 153, we encounter Hamlet for the first time. Looking at the second column on page 153, line 17, following Hamlet's entrance, there's the word king. I don't want to push that issue here, so I'm just going to point out that after line 17, king, there's an acrostic of 4 T's. 17, 4 T's. On line 17, we're given a few more numbers. First, if you start counting the letters after king, to the letter T in Hamlet, there are 17 letters. After that, start counting again to the break in the line by the colon. There are instances with these codes when the dots or points of the colon are counted. There are 38 letters plus the 2 dots of the colon, equaling 40. So on line 17, Edward de Vere's own number, after king, we have 17 letters till the end of the spelling of Hamlet, followed by 40, 1740. But they also incorporated this. After the word brothers, to the break in the line, there are 22 letters, brothers 22, or brethren twice 11. I think this is another clue. Between 1740 Hamlet and brothers twice 11 are the words our dear. Below that is the word us, spelled properly for the time with a letter V. But look at how it's spaced, drawing the eye's attention. It's set right under the letters D-E. Befitted means suitable, so what if those words, us befitted, are actually telling us that the V's suitable to include? If we include the V, we get 1740 Hamlet, our de Vere, and brothers twice 11. There's probably more on that page, but I want to move forward to page 265. First, on line 40, Oxford's code number, there's the line, "Of Hamlet's wildness, so shall I hope your virtues." Here the Queen speaking. Counting the words, Hamlet's is the 22nd, twice 11. Virtues is the 29th. As I've explained many times, 29 is 17 plus 12. With Latin gematria, the 12th letter is M, and Hebrew, M is mem, which is equivalent to 40. 29 is a way of encoding 1740. Same line after the colon, there are 17 letters, with the 17th being V, V-E-R, virtues. Counting after the colon, your honors begins as the 17th word. Okay, I need to refer back to something I covered about the folio's dedication epistle in video 28. On the surface, the terms your LL means your lordships, and your HH might mean your honorables. Using gematria, LL is code for twice 11, and HH is equal to 88, or 4 T's using the repeated count. Understanding that these initials are references to Edward de Vere, you can find a subtext alluding to him within the epistle. Here, I believe your honors is an abbreviation of your honorables, or your HH. These initials are equal to 88, or 4 T's using the repeated count, and are a reference to Vere. Just prior to this are the words to both. In French, to both is à deux. Deux sounds like de, so à de Vere is to de Vere. So shall I hope your virtues will bring him to his wonted way again, to de Vere. In this context, maybe the line is referring to something going on in Oxford's life. The Queen's hoping that Ophelia's beauty is the cause of Hamlet's mad behavior and that her virtues will bring him back to normal. I know Ophelia is supposed to be de Vere's wife and Cecil, but there's a relationship between Ophelia and flowers throughout the play, and I'm wondering if here Ophelia is a veiled reference to Henry Rosy, who de Vere may have had an infatuation with. Rosy was Adonis in Shakespeare's poem Venus and Adonis, and I think the Mr. W.H. in the Sonnet's dedication are Henry Rosy's initials read like Hebrew right to left. So maybe this is saying that Rosy's beauty drove de Vere crazy, but his virtue brought him back to normal, to de Vere. In his video, A Fair Youth, a Dark Lady in Shakespeare, The Scandal Exposed, Alexander Waugh explains how Delia is a reference to Henry Rosy in William Covell's Polymantia. The names Delia and Ophelia have a similar ring to them, so I wonder if the line of Hamlet's wildness is a reflection of de Vere and Rosy's relationship at the time. Now, I don't know if that was intended when the play was originally written, but later the page may have been set up so that of Hamlet's wildness ended up on the 40th line, as well as having other words land on specific number counts, so that when someone has a key like 1740, they can figure out the message. Whether I've interpreted that correctly or not, once to both your honors on the last line is understood to be to de Vere, we then get 17 words after the colon and 40 words after the Queen begins speaking. Okay, after line 40 of Hamlet's wildness, count 17 lines. Then there's an exit, no one else says anything, and then Hamlet walks in. After that 17th line, count 17 lines again. We land on the word for, followed by an acrostic of 4 T's. 17 4 T's. Notice that after the of Hamlet's wildness line, where all this begins, there are 34 lines total before we get to the 4 T's. Remember, 34 is equal to LL using the repeated count, and with gematria, 2 L's are equal to 11, 11, or twice 11. I did my best to line up the 2 columns, but the scan isn't all that great. Above the 4 T's, Hamlet enters the scene and says the most famous words in all of Shakespeare, "To be or not to be, that is the question," and he answers it with a soliloquy of 34 lines. Again, 34 is code for twice 11. Also, counting everything printed on that line, including 2 dots or points for the colon, there are 34 characters. Now I want to focus on this most famous of quotes because I think it may be a message from the Twice 11 and Rosy Cross Brotherhood. First, it appears on line 60. In Greek, the letter L, lambda, is equal to 30. 2 lambdas, or 2 Greek L's, are equal to 60. As I've shown many times, in Latin, 2 L's are equal to 11 and 11, or twice 11. Just as 34 is the repeated count number in Latin for twice 11, 60 is an alternate number in Greek. I believe this is why Sonnet 60 was chosen to include Jesus and Fiat Lux messages, which I explained in my first video. So to be or not to be is printed on a line, which is the Greek LL equivalent of twice 11. Now if you add up the values of the letters for to be or not to be, they total 157. The Shakespeare Memorial in Westminster was funded by Freemasons. The words on the scroll are from The Tempest, but they've been edited so that the letter count equals 157. The same gematria value as to be or not to be. Shakespeare is pointing to the line that reads, the solemn temples, which is an allusion to Solomon's temple, a concept central to Freemasonic belief. Also using gematria, 157 equals the letters Fra Rosy Cross, or Fraternity of the Rosy Cross. And for some reason, Hamlet is missing page 157. It jumps from 156 to 257, a total of 100 pages. So to be or not to be and Fraternity of the Rosy Cross have the same gematria value, as do the number of letters on the scroll of the Westminster Shakespeare Memorial, and the play Hamlet is missing page 157. Obviously, the number means something to this organization. In addition to be or not to be adding to 157, there's also a play on words going on here. The word to, T-O, is pronounced the same as the number 2. And using gematria, the letter B is equal to 2. 2B is a homophone. T-O sounds like the number 2 and B equals 2. So 2B is 22 or 22. There are other examples of this. In the Sonnets, the verse where we start getting to Vere codes is printed between the number 2 and the letter B collation mark, 2B or 22, meaning twice 11. And there's another example in Psalm 119 of the King James Bible, which I go over in video 29. So 2B is equal to 22, which leaves the letters for the words or not. Again, using gematria, the letters O-R-N-O-T add up to 77. So to be or not to be is equal to 22, 77, and 22. Add 22, 77, and 22 together, and the total is 121. Like I showed earlier, 121 is 11 times 11, or twice 11. What are the odds that Shakespeare's most well-known quote is equivalent to the name of the secret society Francis Bacon's most often connected to, and a number that refers to what's likely the same organization or a branch of them? I believe there may be more hidden within this quote, but I'll have to explore that another time. For now, this might be something to think about. To be is a homophone of 2 and 2, or twice 11, and means to exist, that you are. There are another couple words that mean virtually the same thing and also equal 22. God's name, I am. In a letter to his father-in-law, Lord Burleigh, De Vere wrote, I am that I am. The phrase is also found in Sonnet 121, which is equal to 11 times 11, and one of several acrostic messages on page 33 of the first folio, which I cover in video 7. So to be and I am have pretty much the same meaning, and both equal twice 11. De Vere uses both of these phrases and is connected to them through another way. When the letters TOBE are added up using gematria, they equal 40, his code number. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but maybe the words to be are another example of God in Vere. I find it beyond coincidence that these words, which people were not supposed to be using, appear in the Sonnets, King James Bible, and the First Folio, the three works attributed to Shakespeare, and the only other person we know that used this phrase was Edward de Vere. I'm going to close by pointing out that the last page of Hamlet is a total of 42 lines. 42 is 2 T's with a repeated count. Like I've shown many times before, this palindrome in the Bible tells us that Vere is both 2T and 4T, or 40 and 42. Also, the play is a total of 31 pages. I've run across the way this code works before. Using the repeated count, 31 is equal to HH. With gematria, H is equal to 8. 2 H's are 88 or 88. Using the repeated count again, 88 is equal to 4-letter T's. So 31 is HH using the repeated count. 2 H's are equal to 8 and 8 with gematria. Then with the repeated count again, 88 is equal to 4 T's. And Edward de Vere was the 4th T. I feel pretty confident that twice 11 is a crucifix or cross in the 3 primary languages as Dee refers to them. It follows the same motif as the Golden Rosy Cross and the Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross. It was either Edward de Vere's name for them or his set. And we're responsible for the works of Shakespeare. Thank you for watching.